The 49ers 2025 schedule's been announced. New Sprint Ride Option podcast. We're going to break it down here after the music.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option podcast. It's new Sprint Ride Option podcast. I'm Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by the incomparable, the beautiful, the great Jason Aponte. And Jason, this is one of my favorite episodes a year. This is the episode where we talk about the brand new schedule release. This is, I'm not going to compare to Christmas Day because that's what opening day is, right? That's what week one is. But this is when you start getting hope. You start feeling good about everything because you see how the schedule looks. And we're here. This really feels like the first part of the 2025 season. But Jason, before we dive into it, how you doing today? How's your Wednesday? How did you feel getting leaked so frequently with the schedule today?
Honestly, finding out when the Niners come to here to MetLife, which is amazing for anybody that's going to be out here. Please let me know if you want to meet up. There's plenty of things to do. There's plenty of Niners places to go. Finnerty's is open now. The Bay Area bar that's in Midtown as well. There's plenty of things to do, and I can direct you to the quickest way to get to MetLife Stadium so you can watch the 49ers crush those bum-ass Giants. Yeah. But I think a little bit more to your point when it comes to the schedule is this is an exciting time because we have known the opponents, but we were just trying to figure out when so we can make our plans. For instance, I don't want to go to Niners home games anymore. I've been there. I want to see the Niners play in places that they've never played before. I've seen them in Tampa Bay. I've seen them in Philly. I've seen them here at MetLife. I've seen them in other places. But I want to see them in New Orleans in week 2. I want to see them in Houston. Those are places I've never been. So this is an exciting time just for the idea of making plans and putting themselves in a position to, like, now we can just start booking all of these things that we need to book. If you're going to wait to the last minute, like I do to buy tickets, just be in the area. And Corbin, be official member for 38 months. Shout out to you, man. Did I win? You win every single day by being a member of the channel. Shout out to everybody in here. Make sure you guys like this video. Let's run it up.
Yeah, I know you make a great point too with making plans as a fan, because I remember this year there's nothing horrible, at least for scheduling for fans. Remember a couple of years ago, what was it, New Year's weekend in Vegas? And you remember the prices for that, like the second the schedule was announced? Like that was a fun one. But yeah, this is a very interesting schedule. There's a lot of great cities. If you're somebody who likes to travel to these games, there's a lot of great cities. New Orleans obviously is up there. Houston's up there. New York, as Jason says, he loves it there. But then also Indianapolis. Indianapolis is another great city that you don't.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that, because you can. The best part about Indy is you can book something downtown and literally walk to the stadium, and that's what I love about the Combine. That's why the Combine should never leave Indy. I'm sorry, Andrew, for cutting you off. That got me excited because I forgot about Indy.
Yeah, no, so Indy's a great one. I've never been, Jason. I know you've had the honor to go a couple times for the Combine. I've only heard great things about Indianapolis, and around Christmas time too. So that should be a fun week for Niner fans that really like travel. Jason, you ready to dive in? Let's look at the schedule before we go week by week. I really want to know what your big takeaway is from this. Just looking at how it laid out. What's your big takeaway from the 49ers 17 games? Just first at it.
So from an initial glance, you see at Seattle, at New Orleans, home, at Rams, at Buccaneers, right? So that means your first 6 games, there's 4 on the road. But Seattle's on the West Coast. That's not a far trip. New Orleans is a far trip, so you can be a little bit concerned about that. You go back to Arizona. You go back and you play Arizona, and then you have Jacksonville. But then you take a 2-hour flight, an hour flight to Los Angeles, and then you get 10 days off before your game against the Bucs, which is on the East Coast. When we're talking about rest differential and we're talking about how much this moves in terms of miles, that's not as bad as it seems, because 2 of them are on the West Coast, and before you go to the Tampa game, you have all those days off while they're on a regular schedule. I'm not as worried this season about travel as we've been in many other years, is what I want to say.
Yeah, travel is something I noticed too. You mentioned that stretch of just 3 road games to start the season off. How about 6 road games in the first 9 games of the season? It's at New Orleans, at the Rams, at the Buccaneers, at the Texans, at the Giants, and obviously they open at Seattle. 6 road games in the first 9 games of the season. But on the flip side, what that means, there's a lot of home games to close
on the
year
back
out.
end.
And you're talking, I mean, you're talking about it that we historically have this conversation of cold weather. You don't have any cold weather concerns on the back. And Cleveland week 13, November 30th is really your only concern for a cold weather game on the back half, because at Indianapolis, but that's a dome. If it's cold, it's going to be a stadium. Then the Giants, November 2nd, I don't think that's quite there for it to be super cold.
Listen, last year, 2 days before November 2nd, it was 72 degrees here on Halloween. Averly's costume, we had to put her in short sleeves. So November is fine. It's going to be, I'm not good at predicting many things. It's going to be 60 plus degrees at MetLife. I am so excited for that game because it's around my birthday week and it's so close to the crib, and it's a perfect timing for how good the weather is going to be. Yeah, so there are no cold games in here.
No cold. So that's what I like. Especially to the conversation, Brock Purdy and the cold weather. Looks like we're going to get to avoid it this year. Obviously, as I said, the Cleveland game, week 13, probably best for a weird weather game. But after that, like December, it's at home, at Indianapolis, at home, at home. Like that, like if your team, like the 49ers, who would be fighting for playoff positioning at the end of the season, 3 of your last 4 games in Santa Clara, you cannot ask for more than that. And that's huge for schedule for the Niners. And then also the most interesting thing I think about this schedule is the Seahawks book it is at Seattle week 1 versus Seattle week 18. That's a very interesting one because you're going to see what Seattle looks like week 1 with Sam Darnold, all the new players, no DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp in. And then you don't see them again until they're going to be informed, and there's obviously going to be settled in. And that's interesting. I'm curious to see if the Niners have ever in recent history had a season where they open and close the same team. So that's an interesting one as well.
That week 18 game is going to mean nothing. Seattle's going to be eliminated, and the 49ers are already going to be well on their way to a playoff spot. So,
I like it.
Good news is, 49ers fans, one of those games is going to have no sort of stress, right? Because those Seahawks games always feel like you have to win those games because of, the idiot people that cover their team and their fans and all that stuff. But we really don't have to worry about this now. It's just week 1. You get week 1 done, 49ers win. And then week 18 doesn't matter, and who cares? I mean, if you're watching that game, you're going to be watching that game with a bunch of beers. Like, who cares? Our ticket's already punched. I'm good. I love it.
I like it. I like the attitude, Jason. Let's get into it.
Week by week. It's going to continue. It's going to continue with a lot of other teams.
Oh man, I mean, if you really think about it too, with the Seahawks specific, we're gonna have that 2 weeks between the preseason and the regular season, and all we're gonna do is trash on the Seahawks. Like, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a fun couple weeks of podcast. Jason, let's go month by month here. Let's break it up month by month. Niners schedule. Here we go. Week 1 at the Seahawks. Week 2 at the Saints. Week 3 versus the Cardinals, and then week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I maybe one of my bigger complaints about the schedule is the first 2 games, a road game in Seattle. And as you mentioned, then you got to cross country on not a short week, but on 7 days to New Orleans. And I believe that's going to be a 10 a.m. game. So that could lead to some trickiness. Not necessarily concerned about the Saints as a team right now, especially with quarterback situation. I'm not going to try and say like I'm concerned about them. I am saying I am concerned about a country trip for that game. Kind of feels like it could be a trap game. I don't think that's going to be the case, but a cross-country trip to start the season, it's a little rough, especially when you consider they got to go from Seattle to Orleans and then back to Santa Clara in the first 3 weeks. That's a lot of travel to start the season. I'm not going to be here to complain about the mileage of the Niners and all that stuff, but it does exist. It's something that's there. It's a very quick turnaround for those 3 games.
4-0. And look, and if you want to put if you want to put a qualifier on it and say there's going to be a slip up game, there's games in the NFL, that's fine. So let's just operate under a 3-1, version of how this goes. But the 49ers are better than the Seahawks. They're damn sure better than the Saints. I don't care where they have to fly, where they have to play them. They're better than the Cardinals today. I don't care what anybody says. At the crib, home opener. And then the Jaguars, they're, fine. But, the 49ers have roasted them at their best, roasted them last year. Like, look, bottom line, the 49ers are better than all 4 of those teams. They should be 4-0. But if you want to operate under the anything can happen umbrella, which is fine, 3-1 is the worst case scenario that you should be looking coming out of those games. Ideally, you'd love to be 4-0. And I'm going to give you some games where the 49ers absolutely lose because, as much as I want to yell 20-0 and all that stuff, come on, like, we still have to be really, really important, but it's still a chance that this team is 4-0 out the gate. And they should, if they play their game and they don't turn the football over and they are healthy, then they should be 4-0. But again, we don't know what the circumstances going into all of these games will be. But right now, living in a perfect world, they should be 4-0. Let's operate under a realistic umbrella, 3-1.
So if we're being realistic, who's the one loss, Jason?
I don't know. And it's going to be something really annoying. It's going to be something really annoying to the fact where the Niners whip the Seahawks and the Saints and the Cardinals, and then they drop one to the Jags at the crib. Like, it's going to be something unforeseen if it is something like that. There's no obvious loss here, right? Based on travel or maybe like tough matchup. There's none of that. But if we're just going off of it, the loss, if it is there, is going to be a very frustrating loss where we look and we say there's no reason the team should have lost to them. So it would be something freaky like the 49ers winning the first 3 and then losing to the Jaguars out of nowhere, right? Like, and them not even having a leg to stand on. Like, it would be something where the Jaguars were 1-3 going into, or 1-2 going into the game, and they end up 2-2 and we're 3-0, like that type shit.
Yeah, no, if I had to pick one of those 4 games that was a quote unquote loss for the 49, it would probably be the week 1 game against the Seahawks, just because it's a division rival on the road. But I'm with you, Jane. I like the 4-0 idea. These are 4 very winnable games. And what I like too is the Niners are getting half of the NFC West schedule knocked out in the first 5 weeks of the season, right? Because you go into October, it's at the Rams, and the Niners really struggled against the West last season, right? Like, let's be honest. I think they finished 2-4 against the West, maybe 1-5, and it was a big issue. So you get those games out of the way, and ideally you start 3-0 in division, and we could talk about it against the NFC West. Whether or not that's realistic, I don't know. But I do like that they get a good amount of NFC West games out of the way, because the rest of the schedule, relatively easy, right? It's a lot of divisions that are great. Speaking of the divisions that are great, NFC South being one of them, the Niners play 2 NFC South games in the month of October at the Rams in week 5, which is a Thursday night game, the only Thursday night game of the season. Then week 6 on October 12th, they go to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. Week 7, I believe that's a Sunday night game versus Falcons. And then week 8 at the Houston Texans. And I think if there's a marquee game to circle on this schedule that's not an NFC West game, I think it's the Texans game. Not just because they're a talented team and they're going to give the Niners some fits, but because of the DeMeco Ryans tie-in. And then if you want to go one step further, Robert Saleh versus the coordinator who replaced him. There's a lot of stories with it. So if there's a game to have circle on this calendar that's not an NFC West game, week 8 at the Texans is my pick.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay game is really interesting too, man, because the Bucks are really, really, really good, man. They bring back Godwin. You know, they already had Jalen McMillan and Mike Evans and Rashad White and Bucky Irving and the way the interesting part about this is going to be how the Bucks look on offense without Liam Cohen, who left for the Jaguars. So again, we're looking at this operating on the assumption that they're going to be the same team that they are last year. How much does Liam Cohen's departure have to do with what's going on with the Bucks? And I always like those Buccaneers games because they're on the East Coast and you're automatically counting out the West Coast team. And you know what? The Bucks were a playoff team last year, and they're a team that you consider that will be in the mix. We just don't know what they'll look like offensively, and if their new offensive coordinator is going to be as good as Cohen, because I think Cohen was incredible, and that's the reason that he became the Jags head coach. The Rams Thursday night game, I like it. It's a short travel week, that's fine, but you're traveling an hour. So that's fine. If you're talking about short weeks into Thursday, the only Thursday night game the 49ers have, love that. Get it out of the way. And if you're going to do Thursday night, then make it the shortest travel possible. I do think the Rams and the 49ers are going to split their games this year. And if I'm going to bet, I'm not going to bet on the Niners losing at the crib to them. So I do have this one as a loss if I was going to bet if we're splitting at SoFi. The Rams are improved. This just seems like one of those wonky games on Thursday that can get out. You have a ball bounce a weird way. All of a sudden the Rams are up and then they win a game. And this is what happened on Thursday Night Football last year in Santa Clara, where the 49ers allowed 12 points, only scored 9. And it was raining and all those things happen. But the Bucks, I still think they're better than the Bucks, and I think that they can find a way to win that game as well, especially with all that time off. The Falcons, they are certainly better than the Falcons, and if they don't beat the Falcons, then what's my favorite saying? We have a larger discussion to have about this team than just them losing a game. And then the Texans is very interesting. The D'Amico thing, obviously. Bobby Slowick, being over there as well too. How are they going to be offensively now? Jalen Noel, who I loved. Jaden Higgins, they drafted as well too to add with Nico Collins, and Joe Mixon had a fantastic season. Their offensive line is probably their weakest part, but old friend Jimmy Ward and Aziz Al-Shire, there's plenty of storylines for that Texans game. 100%, you're not wrong about that at all. So if you're talking about purely from a storylines narrative driven, revenge game driven, which, oh my God, man, I can't wait to get done with this because I'm going to write a whole article about all the revenge games that are going to happen both ways, on that website that we write for that has that name that infuriates everyone. But what a time with the Texans. And, I think you're right. I think the Texans one is full of narratives, full of things to look forward to, and will be a fun game because they're still an up and coming team as well.
I think something I look at with this stretch as well is I think it's the toughest stretch of the schedule, extending into week 9, but it's not particularly tough because if you look at this stretch, it's a 4 road game stretch in 5 days. At the Rams, at the Buccaneers versus the Falcons, at the Texans, at the Giants. I looking at it right now, that's probably a 3-2 stretch. Because I think you're spot on with the Rams, right? I think the Niners and Rams are split, and I think in the month of May, when you're looking at the schedule, the easiest way to split it is to say the Niners will lose the road game but win the home game. So I think this could be a 3-2 stretch with the Rams and Texans. It's a lot of travel. That's my concern with this stretch. It's LA to Tampa Bay, but there is a break there, 10-day break between. And then it's back Santa Clara for a Sunday until, and then you're to Houston to New York. So that again, kind of like those 2 games, it's a lot of travel. But I don't necessarily think the team names concern me much. And I see the comments from Mike. I apologize. Some with an audit fix. Do you know what's going on with it, Jay? I see the comments.
I don't know. I just it cuts out into in and out here and there.
Okay.
Might be an internet issue, might be a mic issue, not sure, but we just got to power through. It's fine.
I'm gonna look into it after. I thought I fixed it. I guess I didn't, but I'll look into it after. So I apologize, guys. Bear with me. But yeah, do you agree with me on that? Just with the 4 road games and 4 road trip in 5 games. Do you think that's the toughest stretch, or is there a different stretch notice?
No, I think you're right about that. It's just, normally when the 49ers are on the East Coast and they have to go to New York or something like that, they have their trip to Columbus where they sit there and they, and they hang out. There isn't a place where they can do that, from Houston to the Giants. Luckily for the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Giants fucking suck. And being able to beat on Russell Wilson and what, give him another loss. I don't care if it doesn't help us ease the wounds of how it was when he was in Seattle. The Giants fucking stink and they're still not as good as the 49ers. And I love what they did in the draft. And I've applauded their draft. I think, getting Abdul Carter and Darius Alexander to pair with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, my God, like, you have like a dream defensive line, and Malik Neighbors is really good. I like Tyrone Tracy. Even hell, like if you like Cam Scatterboo, that's cute too, or whatever, And then you've got, Russell Wilson, and then you got Jameis, right? So like that's another storyline for us, but they still fucking stink. Like that's the end of it. Like that's the end of the story. Like the Niners should beat them. Again, if they can't beat the New York Giants, we have a bigger discussion to have about the San Francisco 49ers. What's the shape the 49ers will be going into that game? I don't know. But if we're talking about perfect world, which is what we're doing right now, which is why this is an instant reaction to the schedule release and why it's completely hypothetical, then if we're talking about the 49ers being healthy and firing on all cylinders, there's no reason for them to not walk out of there with the win. But I do agree with you. There is a little bit of concern with travel, but the 49ers have done this all year for 2 straight years. Right? This team knows how to do it. Their leaders know how to get their people through it. They have plans in place. This isn't something that's going to blindside them or derail their season. Is it concerning? Sure. Is it something that is going to be used against them as a negative? Sure. But it's not going to be something that is an end all be all. And I think I'm less worried about the travel this season than I've ever been based on how this is going and how, these first 2 road trips are going to be to basically, up the hill, like, in on the West Coast. And, once you get the Buccaneers one out the way, you have that Browns one, but for the most part, you're not traveling anywhere crazy. And that's what is going to boil down to. But again, it boils down to, are the 49ers healthy? What shape are they in? How are they playing? We'll talk about that as we go week to week. But if we're talking about travel, I'm not as concerned this season. I'm really not.
So we move into the month of November, Jason. Actually, something you mentioned too with the Giants and all their draft picks. I don't know. It's obviously featured of the schedule when you play a last play schedule. I think it's interesting the Niners play each of the first 3 picks in the draft this year. With the on the back end, Cam Ward, have Travis Hunter with the Jaguars, and then Abdul Carter with the Giants. So that's interesting. Fun little
that is pretty schedule.
Cool. But week 9, November 2nd at the Giants in Jay Ponte's backyard. Week 10, November 9th against the Rams. Week 11 at the Cardinals. Week 12 versus the Panthers. A very weird Monday night game.
Monday Night Football. I don't get that one.
As somebody who is November 23rd and I saw it was a Sunday this year, I was very excited. Like, who the Niners going to play on my birthday? And it's a Monday night game, not on my birthday, against the Panthers, and close November out against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. We mentioned the one potential other game of the season. But yeah, Jason, Monday night against the Panthers. That's a weird one.
I mean, unless ESPN values revenge games as much as we do and just want to see Christian McCaffrey get out there and do something to the Panthers, like I like this one came out of complete left field. The Panthers are, for all intents and purposes, rebuilding. They're not even necessarily upstart, like where, sure, at the end of the year last year, you saw some glimpses from the Panthers, but they're not upstart, like an interesting team. Like, no one has the Carolina Panthers as a dark horse NFC South winner, right? Like, where you can see glimpses and you're like, oh, they're going to be, that's not going to happen. So that one was kind of weird, but Rams at the crib. Well, Giants first, 49ers win. Anybody that's coming out to New York, please let me know. Plenty of things to do. I am down to tailgate, everything, all that. Like, the 49ers don't come here very often, so I got to take advantage. Rams at the crib, I think they win that game. At Arizona, I think they win that game because that's how little I think of Arizona. And then I think they beat the Panthers. And then, you know what? Those Browns games are just, you know what? It doesn't matter what shape the Browns are in. It doesn't matter what the weather is. I'm more concerned of the Jim Schwartz, Kyle Shanahan battle that continues to rage, that continues to rage on. So let's just say the Browns are improved. Let's just say the weather is bad. Let's just say their defense is as good. That's just one of those ones that you don't feel good about going into. I mean, yes, you're better than the Browns, but styles make fights, and the Browns have given the 49ers fits, and so is Jim Schwartz. I think that's the way you should be looking at that game more than anything.
If we want to pretend the 49ers are playoff caliber team, and they are, this needs to be a 5-0 stretch. Like, plain and simple. This needs to be an undefeated stretch. I know that the top half of the schedule, there's some loss in there, right? Like, we could be talking at Seattle, at the Rams. The Buccaneers could be a tricky one. The Texans could be a tricky one. And let's just say the Niners do stumble out of the gate and lose all 4 of those games. At Giants versus Rams, at Cardinals versus Panthers, at Browns, it's such a good get-right stretch. And to me, like, if there's any conversation of the 49ers being a team that could be playing at Levi Stadium in February, they need to run through this stretch because this is such winnable games. The Rams obviously is the trickiest. Again, division games, never know what's going to happen. I guess you could say the same about the Cardinals. I just think the Rams are that much better than the Cardinals. I'm not huge on the Cardinals this year. I don't know why many people would be. They got some pieces. I just don't think it's quite there yet. I just don't see where a loss is. The Jim Schwartz thing is always a concern. We saw it, 2 years ago? That was last year, right? Yeah. The 2020 season, Niners have a disappointing game against the Browns. Again, it's Mason. We don't need to go off of vibes. We don't need to go off of what the Niners look like at that moment. Right now, like, the Niners are a better team than the Browns, and that's what matters. So this to me is the stretch of wins if the Niners want to be a serious contender this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, again, I laid it out. The 49ers are better than all these teams. The Rams is probably the one team that you can argue, however you want to argue. But they're better than all these teams. But that doesn't mean that there's, a game where you come into the game and Trent's missing, Bosa's out. Yeah. Fred's dealing with a banged up leg, and these are the things that you can't account for. So when people want to take you to task for your initial predictions, it's strange for you to do that because we're operating under the whole perfect world scenario. And Trent plays 17 games for the first time in maybe his career, and Bosa doesn't miss any games, and Warner's not dealing with anything. And that's the thing. It's like, if I'm looking at it and I'm just putting on my realistic hat, aside from my 49ers hat, when you look at the Browns, Brian Flores, Jim Schwartz, those defenses give Kyle Shanahan fits regardless of the state that they're in, right? Regardless of the players that are there. And you toss in the fact that it's probably going to be cold. That stadium's right on the lake, so it's going to be frosty, right? That ice wind is going to be there. I think you have to still look at it that way. I mean, but at the same time, the 49ers are better than the Browns. And I don't think that, even a Browns fan who would say ha, we beat you, that doesn't mean you're better than the 49ers. It just means you were better that day. What's funny is the same thing in baseball, right? The Colorado Rockies are the worst team in baseball. They have 5 wins. They have 5 wins going, through April, right? Who are the 5 teams they beat? Are they better than them? No, they were just better that day, right? The idea of the Browns keep beating you, they're better than you. No, they just have something the 49ers have to work around. And then there's other things, context that needs to be added. It's cold. Purdy's not good in these games, and turnovers and people fumbling the football, and all those things need to be taken into account. So the whole idea of my team beat you, we're better than you, is kind of silly. Because the worst team in football is going to win one game. Does that mean that they're better than that team? No, they just were better that day. They scored more points that day.
Jason, we're going to get to the last stretch of the schedule here. Great to remind people, if you haven't already, like this video. If you're new, or even if you're old here, like this video. If you're new, subscribe to Jason Apponte YouTube channel. So great content, whether it's with Graham, whether it's whether it's stats, a lot of great content here. So be sure to subscribe, like all videos you can, and just support Jason Apponte, one of the better Niners content creators, podcasters out there. So be sure to support him best you can. You can also find our content at NinersNation.com. We write there. I'll have my schedule of view out. Jason said he has a revenge game article coming out as well. So be sure to look out for that. Jason, we're through 13 weeks. We haven't bye week yet. And the reason is the NFL gave Niners of week 14 by latest bye week a team can have. The Niners got it. You could look at it one ways. You know, it's a late bye. If players get dinged, you don't get that rest, or you could look at it as a late season chance to have up for the end stretch, and it's a very manageable end stretch for the 49ers. Week 15 against the Tennessee Titans at home at Levi's. Then they go back-to-back time games. Week 16 at the Colts on Monday Night Football. Week 17 versus the Bears on Sunday Night Football. That's a interesting synchronicities. Is that the word I'm looking for? Because last year the Niners played week 17 against the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson's Detroit Lions, and this year, and that was on a Monday Night Football game. This year, it's a Sunday night game against Ben Johnson's Chicago Bears. And week 18, they close out, as we mentioned, versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I already said it at the base, and a very manageable back half of the schedule. If we get into week 14 and the bye week, the Niners are fighting for playoff positioning, I don't know if you can come up with a better 4 to end the season against. The Titans are, they're a franchise, just had the number 1 pick, and they'll have growing pains with Cam Ward. They stink. That's okay. They stink. The Colts, another team with some quarterback issues. Again, that's a tricky one. They stink. That's a tricky one. It's Indianapolis, but they stink. The Bears, like Caleb Williams, I think they can stink, but I think they'll be better than that. And then the Seahawks just stink in general because they're the Seahawks. So again, go into November into December, I really like the back half of this Niners schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, again, this is unbiased. The Tennessee Titans had the number 1 pick for a reason last year. Cam Ward being there is obviously going to make them better, but they have a mile to go before they become anything. Now, again, we don't know what the shape of the Tennessee Titans is going to be heading into this, but I like my chances. I'll take my chances, especially at the crib. I will take my chances if I'm a 49ers fan. At the Colts, again, the starting quarterback is going to be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. I don't care. I don't care who it is. It could be both of them. It could be somebody who has like grafted them both together, where it's Daniel Jones' skin color and Anthony Richardson's running. Like I don't know. Like I don't care. I don't care about you get where I'm going here, Andrew. We're cooking. And then the Bears. Look, the Bears scare me, right? The Bears have improved themselves in so many different ways. Defense wasn't their problem. Offensive line is completely improved. You have a better play caller. You have a better wide receiver, Rome, DJ Moore, and who did they draft? My God, Colston Loveland. Who else did they drafted it? And they drafted another
number 87.
Luther Burden. Yeah, like they're completely overhauled. And they have a play caller in the way. The Bears is the game that scares you the most. And like I said, week 18 ain't going to matter for nothing because the 49ers are going to already have their playoff spot, wrapped up. That'll be Mac Jones against Jalen Milroe for the people that are sickos and want to watch backup quarterbacks play. But yes, you have to think about it this way. Week 14, the 49ers get their bye, get everybody healthy, and then they get this stretch of games to go into the end of the season. And then if they're in the playoffs, for the most part, those guys are going to be healthy. They're going to have that week off with the Seahawks. We don't know what playoff position they're going to be fighting for, but you have to like the last 4 games of this season. Like you really do. You get all the hard stuff out of the way early. It's still the weakest schedule based on strength of schedule, based on how teams are last year. Obviously, we're leaving out the part where teams can improve, and that's something that I think we're going to find out week to week when we do our weekly previews of like, hey, remember back in May 14th when we were making fun of this team? Well, you know what? I'm very scared about this team right now, like moving forward because this, and this, and they've improved. We'll find all that out. But right now, the 49ers are in a good spot. So I think we should do it again one more time. One through, game by game, and then we'll give our prediction, and then we'll see how silly we look right after that. Right, Andrew?
Yeah, let's do it, Jason. Week 1 at the Seahawks. I got that as a win.
Dub.
There, let me track this for us, just so we can talk about it as we go. So Jason's got them at 1-0. I got them at 1-0. I think we both agree the Niners beat the Saints week 2.
Dub.
I like that. Versus the Cardinals, I'm gonna go dub. I like it. The Jaguars, that's going to be my 4th dub in a row.
Dub.
at the Rams. And I think this is where I'll put my first list, just
Me
because it's
too.
a road game against the Rams. A very good Rams team on the road. Never know how
Me
that's
too.
going to go. But then at the Buccaneers, back
Dub.
in Call of I think the Niners better than the Buccaneers versus the Falcons. Jason, dub. That's what I have. Both at 6-1 at the Texans. I'm gonna go L on this one. I like the Texans defense. That offense is good. I just think that's a very talented team out there in Houston.
Dub.
Okay, so we got our first disagreement. I'm not even gonna ask the Giants. I'm just gonna write that one down.
Dub.
Versus the Rams.
Dub.
That's the one I went, and then at the Cardinals.
L.
You an L at the Cardinals? Okay, I'm gonna do that too. They had some issues with the Cardinals the past couple of years. I think though the road game against the Cardinals is gonna be the last. Monday night versus the Panthers. Have a win.
Dub.
That's what I thought. At the Browns.
L, and that's the last L they're taking this season.
I'm gonna give an L as well. The Jim Schwartz thing scares me. Just kind of always a thing. Versus the Titans in Week 15.
Dub.
At the Colts Week 16.
Dub.
I'm gonna go win against the Colts, but I'm gonna go loss against the Bears. I think the Bears beat the Niners.
Dub.
And then we end with the Seahawks.
Dub.
Jason, you got them at 14-3, which I think is completely doable with the strength of schedule. Well, I know, but like you laugh.
I never thought I'd get there. 14-3. There's gonna be slip ups for sure. There's gonna be slip ups for sure.
There could be, but again, it's May. We're looking at names on a list. Look at these names. 14-3 is very doable. I have 12-5, also doable. But Jason, both of those get the Niners into the playoffs, and that's where they want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Look, the 49ers are a playoff team this year.
Yes.
Based on how many playoff spots there are, and they have this schedule that they're looking at. Yeah, 100%. I never thought I'd get to 14-3. I'm just going based off vibes. But the 49ers are absolutely a playoff team. Like the idea that this team could go 9-8 or something like that, it would have to be on the back of so many injuries again, or just a complete regression from players that you had your watch set to, i.e. quarterback, right? Let's just say like, that's the only way the 49ers can go like 9-8 is if like there's a absolute like regression from Brock Purdy to the mean, like meaning like, yes, he wasn't as good as he was the year before, but he was by no stretch of the imagination a bad quarterback. Yeah. If he becomes a bad quarterback out of nowhere, then the 49ers lose games instantly just based off that. But I just don't see that happening. And again, that's not me being, biased or overly optimistic. I think right now we're just going off the names on the rosters and what we think they're going to be. And that's what makes this exercise so fun and to come back and look at.
It's just hard to see like 7 losses on the schedule or 8 losses on this, just with the names alone. And again, it could happen. It's bad things. Jason, we're not a fan. We've seen a lot of bad things happen throughout regular seasons, but it's May. I don't want to sit here and predict those bad things because it doesn't feel like a fun way to spend my time. So I'm going to sit here 12-5. I feel comfortable with that. I think this is a very friendly schedule that, let's be honest, the Niners earned by being a place team last, right? They worked hard to get this really bad schedule, and this is what they've deserved. So I think this is a huge spot for a bounce back year for the Niners. I know the defense is going to be very questionable with how many rookies they got playing, but it's the starting stretch of the season. It's not like they're facing high-powered offenses, right? Seattle, Saints, the Cardinals. Your first really, really good offense is 5 against the Rams. So the young players are going to have a month to get going. So I really like this schedule. It's got me excited. I think Niners are going to come out looking good at the end of the 2025 season.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I got them 14-3. So
you really,
but yeah, I listen. I don't even know what the jerseys look like at this point, and that's a huge big thing. Andrew, I sent you a video or whatever for you to post to because I do want to I do kind of want to talk about something else at the end because I think we've covered the schedule very well. By the way, shout out to everybody here, almost 40 minutes in. If you're in here, please, guys, a like on the video does so much to help us with the algorithm and get us, noticed a lot more. So we appreciate you guys for checking in. Shout out to all the channel members. I see Tony. I saw a few others. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for always supporting. Really appreciate you guys. But there was something that came across the timeline that is interesting, and I'm glad that Andrew has it up. Our friend of the program in our head, friend of a friend, is Mina Kimes, who is a known Seattle Seahawks fan. But she had some guy with his hair is fine. I don't have a problem with his hair. And he said that he believes that if Mike Tomlin was the coach of the 49ers last year, that they wouldn't have went 6-11. And I want the clip to play, and I want Andrew to play it, and then we'll react to it.
Let off the audio. I know we've had issues with
got
audio on these before, so let me know.
You got it.
Have a random
Turn
team
up.
full of 53 randomly generated players. I'd rather have Mike Tomlin coaching that team from July 24th to February than Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh,
It's close.
You got it?
It's close.
I
Yep.
could not disagree more
Close.
with that.
But Kyle Shanahan does one clear thing better, which
We got words at least if people want to read words along.
I don't want to read the bullshit
No.
he's saying. Keep going.
is he coaches the quarterback better. I would put most things in Mike Tomlin's corner there.
I just feel like at a certain point, you got to punish the guy for not getting it done in the playoffs in recent years. Whereas Kyle Shanahan, last few years until this last year, 2019 Super Bowl, 2021 Conference Championship, 2022 Conference Championship, literally ran out of quarterbacks. 2023 made it to the Super Bowl. Last year, the San Francisco 49ers ranked dead last in Football Outsiders adjusted games lost metric, meaning they had the most injuries of any team in football. Despite that, the offense still finished as a top 10 offense in Football Outsiders DVOA metric.
But doesn't that always happen? Wasn't like Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, weren't they like yards per attempt gods too?
Yeah, because he's unbelievable. If
Yeah,
I
that
was
makes
building
sense.
a team from scratch, it would be hard for me not to start with Kyle Shanahan, just simply knowing the floor that you get with your offense when you have him in the building.
Do you think Mike Tomlin, with all the injuries, all the breaks, all the things that went wrong for the Niners, do you think Mike Tomlin would have won more than 6 games with that team?
No,
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay.
Sorry, no audio, but you guys read along. It pretty much was whole of Niners backup quarterbacks. Defense is really good, and he was trying to make point out Tomlin being better with less, essentially. And I kind of made a straw man's version of that argument a couple months ago, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And I definitely agree with Mina Kimes there, Jason. I'll let you cook.
So all I ever hear about why the 49ers need to move on from Kyle Shanahan is because he hasn't won a Super Bowl, right? Doesn't uphold the gold standard. We don't like runner-up trophies. Who the fuck likes runner-up trophies? I don't. I can't control that, okay? But imagine if Kyle Shanahan was the coach of the San Francisco 49ers since 2016 and had not won a single playoff game since then. You'd send him to the gallows, the gulag, whatever.
Gulag. I like gulag.
Listen to me. Mike Tomlin's won a Super Bowl. That's a fact. Mike Tomlin inherited a team that won a Super Bowl a few years before he showed up. That's another fact. Mike Tomlin hasn't won a single playoff game since Barack Obama was in office. Can we stop? Please. There are coaches that you want to bring up, but if you keep telling me that the greatest accomplishment of Mike Tomlin's career is that he's never had a losing season, and tell me in the same breath that you want Kyle Shanahan out of here because you can't win a Super Bowl when Kyle Shanahan has lapped him in playoff victories and has had some losing seasons, you are making yourself look dumb. Mike Tomlin would not change a thing about this team, and that is something that I need people to just stop saying. And it's not something that this guy said because I feel like, he just brought up an argument, but I've seen it too much with 49ers fans. Mike Tomlin would go 9-8 and get bounced by the Cleveland Browns, by the Denver Broncos, by whoever they face in the first round, and you wouldn't let that slide if that was Kyle Shanahan. The goalposts continue to be moved. Stop it. Give me Kyle Shanahan today, tomorrow, and every single Sunday. Enough. Mike Tomlin, you're a great coach. Stop it. You're not a better coach than Kyle Shanahan is today, and that's all that matters. I just want this narrative to stop, Andrew Pasquini. There, I'm done.
I just don't like this thing of like Kyle Shanahan can't win Super Bowls, and that's why the Niners need to get. I feel like a lot of people forget that only one team wins a Super Bowl, and the Niners have been in very bad spots before Kyle Shanahan. And we're sitting here saying like going to the NFC Championship game and not winning a Super Bowl is a bad thing. I don't see that.
But Mike Tomlin went 9-8. Oh my God, Andrew, he went 9-8. You gotta give him credit. What are you talking about, dog? What are you talking? Yo, he didn't win the Super Bowl.
9-8 doesn't even get the Niners in the playoffs last year. 9-8 does not get the Niners in the playoffs last year.
But it's so impressive. It's so impressive. Mike Tomlin, 9-8.
I just don't understand how winning 10 games and getting bumped in the first round of the playoffs is more impressive than anything Kyle Shanahan has done, and even in down years. Because again, like just Mina brings up a great point about the injuries and how many injuries the Niners had. You can't sit here and tell me the Niners would have been 10-11 if Brandon Ayuk. I so firmly believe that if Brandon Ayuk doesn't go down last year, the Niners are in the playoffs. And we're sitting here acting like that the Niners didn't have a ton of injuries as to why they were 10-11, but people want to make it a Kyle Shanahan thing. It's so strange to me.
Yeah. Ask any Pittsburgh Steeler fan.
Jared Bailey.
Die hard, brand new, anybody. Ask any one of them if they would trade Mike Tomlin right now for Kyle Shanahan. I guarantee you there would be 7 out of 10 that would say, give me Kyle. Give me Kyle, because we're done with this whole, like, you think that the gold standard, whatever it is, right? Like, and I hate when people are just like, oh, you're cool at runner-up. I'm not cool with no runner-up trophy. I'm not cool with shit. I'm not in control of nothing. Like, let's get that out of the way. I'm not cool with a thing. But if you think we're cool with that, are Steeler fans cool with not winning a single playoff game since 2016 and being 9-8 every single year? So it's good for thee, but not for me. What are you talking about? Like for me, I don't understand. There's every single Steeler fan out there that you could probably find that would say, I take Kyle Shanahan in a blink, not even think about it. By the way, that would be the thought process for 20 other teams as well, too. So while you're crying about Kyle and wanting to get rid of him, just know that there's plenty of teams that would fire whoever it is that they have going on and they have there and they would take. But the Mike Tomlin thing just pisses me off, bro. It's enough. It's enough. They want him fired. And now he would take over the Niners and do what? Win 7 games, win 8 games, and then we'd hail him as a champion? No.
There are so many fan bases out there that would kill to lose 3 championship games in 4 seasons. Like Steelers fans, I can text Jerry right now, like, hey man, would you be cool losing 3 AFC championship games in 4 seasons? On yeah. What? Yeah. Like the fact that that's held against Shanahan, but yet we're propping up Mike Tomlin because he can go 9-8 with Mason Rudolph just doesn't sit right with me. It's weird to me.
Look, that's impressive in its own right, because 9-8 is hard when you have all those quarterbacks and everything. Last year you had Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. You made the inexplicable change from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. You'll never explain that one to me, man, because you didn't get any better, based off of that. But does Kyle Shanahan not get credit for making people think that Nick Mullins should have been starting over somebody else. Does Kyle Shanahan not get any more praise for making everyone think that Jimmy Garoppolo was a very competent quarterback at many times? Does Kyle Shanahan not get any credit for taking the last pick in the draft and then going all the way on his third quarterback to the NFC Championship game? Does Kyle Shanahan not get any credit for doing that with Brock Purdy and going to the Super Bowl? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand it, because you're using the 9-8 seasons and the fact that he's never had a losing season as some sort of banner to hang, when literally all you ever tell me is there's no banner to hang for Kyle Shanahan. So you're praising that, but you're not going to praise this? Like what are we doing?
Is Brock Purdy in an Arthur Smith offense? Like what are we doing? You know, and that's it's just. It's a weird comparison. I know. I understand why people prop Mike Tomlin up, because he does make the playoffs with not great rosters. Let's be 1,000% honest. But at the end of the day, like the rosters hit well, right? Like they're not doing. They've been so second in Pittsburgh. It's a weird comparison. And again, I mentioned it a couple months ago, right? Remember when we were talking about people wanting to fire Shanahan? Like, well, the only I could think of is Tomlin, just because he's established, been around for a while. But even I believe in that. And so the fact that we're still here talking in May about Tomlin versus Shanahan, it's just Shanahan's an undisputed 5 coach in the league, and Tomlin is top 10, right? And that's different. There's a difference there. Yes. And I just don't see a world where Mike Tomlin being their head coach changes the outcome of last season.
Yeah, that's it. I've said everything I have to say, right? But like in the same way, it's just the amount of hate that gets thrown at Kyle is not thrown at other people. Why hasn't Harbaugh's brother won anything when Lamar Jackson was the MVP and Derrick Henry's been on? Like, y'all don't get on him, right? Y'all don't get on him at all, right? About that, like not finishing the job and finding a way, right? Like Sean McDermott's a great coach, but he's being carried by Josh Allen right now at this point. You're looking at the fact that Patrick Mahomes is like the reason that Andy Reid finally broke through, and like everybody has something, but it's always Kyle Shanahan, right? Like it's always, I can't believe Kyle hasn't got it done with these. It's probably because they've made 2 Super Bowls, which, by the way, 49er fans, is a good thing. Yeah, I'd like for my team to play in the final game of the season. I'll take that chance every single year. As opposed to, I hate when people say I'd rather lose before the last game. Absolutely not, because then you had no chance at winning the last game, right? So it's just weird because other people get passes, other coaches get passes over and over and over, and they have had better opportunities. What's the Ravens' excuse? The Ravens are loaded at every single position. You bring in Patrick Queen, you sign Derrick Henry, you have one of the top 4 best quarterbacks in the world. You have somebody who's developing as a passer, but Harbaugh's such a great coach because he won once. How many years ago? How long do you live off of one ring to where you're not in the conversation anymore now at this point? Yeah. And that's really where we are with Tomlin and Harbaugh and a lot of these guys. Because if you win one, you don't have to win another one ever again, apparently.
Yeah. I have a feeling that won't be the case for Shanahan when he gets 1, right? Like that won't be the case. Then it'll be 2. But again, like winning a Super Bowl is hard, but and Tomlin has that. But the NFL is a what have you done from recently league. And Tomlin has just been kind of average. And that just is what it is. And I know he's had some characters in that locker room that he's had to manage and all that stuff. But
that's impressive.
It is. And at the end of the day, though, what have the Steelers done recently? It's an interesting conversation to have. I just don't see how anybody can say Tomlin's a better coach than Kyle Shanahan in this juncture.
If Kyle Shanahan didn't win a single playoff game since 2016 and he was still your coach, you would have wanted him fired in 2019. You would have wanted him fired in 2020. Don't lie. You can lie all you want online. You can lie. Don't lie. Don't lie to me. If Kyle Shanahan was 4 years after 2016 and hadn't won a single playoff game, and still in the Lord's big year of 2025, hasn't won a playoff game since 2016, Imagine what you'd say.
Yeah. Nice things.
Crazy.
I don't think anybody
Crazy.
would say nice things.
Crazy.
Jason, we know Niners 2025 schedule. We feel very good about it. I'm excited for it. It was fun talking about it. I'm not going to be here the next couple of weeks. I'm going out of the country. I'm going to Tokyo. But as I said earlier, Jason Aponte's YouTube channel has a lot of great content. He's going to keep grinding out content with Brad Gray, Steph Sanchez, all of them. So now's a great time to subscribe, a great time to like. But the good news is I know I'm out for a couple of weeks. When I come back, it's going to be June, Jason. And that means we're that much closer to training camp, to preseason, and ultimately the regular season. So, Jason, we are slowly getting to that point. Football season is back, and this is the unofficial start. Football season is back. I'm excited for another year six. Year six.
Year six.
Year six.
Who would have thought?
Look at us.
Look at
that.
Not me.
Not me. And I also promise I'll have the microphone issues fixed on time. I think I know what the issue is. So thank you for bearing with us through that as well. We really appreciate it. We appreciate each and every one of you. I would like each and every one of you, if I could. I'd have a button to like all of you, but it could. It's out there. So I hope you like us as well. Like this video. Like Jason Aponte's YouTube channel. Jason, any final thoughts before we get out of here on the Niners schedule?
I'm so happy to be back with all you guys, and we're locked in now. You know, we're there's a little bit of a dead period here, but there's still some content to be made off of the schedule as well too. You know, especially retro breakdowns and things like that. I'd love to do that for the channel, but they get demonetized immediately because the NFL they're so worried about the $3 that I'm gonna make off of my video, you know, breaking down film and all that stuff. You know, the NFL, you know, pray for them. They really need every single dollar that they can get because it's hard out here for everybody. But yeah, there's a lot of content to be made, you know, based off that. So I may just have to post the clips to Twitter as opposed to, you know, doing a full YouTube video. I did one YouTube video, got taken down by the NFL, you know. I mean, look, it's hard for the NFL. Like, you know, my $3 or $4 that I would make off that video while trying to inform 49ers fans, it pales in comparison to what the NFL actually needs. So, you know, I feel bad for them, and I hope that they get out of their financial strife.
Well, you know, if you get $4 off of it, that's half of a subscription, and they don't want to give you 50% to watch their game behind paywall, right, Jason? So I get it, right? I get the NFL going for the big man. So is what it is. I don't understand why they take down film, but they're neither here nor there. But Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Good to see y'all again.
Let's go Niners. Get used to a lot of winning. 25.
Welcome everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.